Cass, there were four matchups on Sunday to start the WNBA playoffs. They delivered. I literally was on my couch all day with all of my favorite snacks, watching all of my favorite hoopers. Nothing made me more happy, but so many different historical records were broken in these matchups and a couple of surprises as well. I want to jump right into it with Dream versus Liberty. Number one, New York Liberty maintained their home court advantage, took care of game one pretty convincingly, 83 to 69. Leonie Fiebich, man, comes out with a career high in her playoff debut as a rookie, 21 points, guys, and started instead of Courtney Vandersloot. So Sandy Brondella not afraid to mix things up come playoff time.
Yeah, this is the time to do it. You've faced all these teams three or four times. The playoffs is just a higher level. We saw this throughout the league on Sunday in game one. I think a smart move, switch things up. What a luxury to have Leonie Fiebich, someone who has experience overseas, has won MVPs there. Put her into the starting lineup, and you can bring Courtney Vandersloot off the bench.
Yes. Yeah, Sloot again, still such a consistent and veteran for this team. That's what you need this time of year to win is that veteran leadership. I really like the way that the Liberty started just on defense. I thought that they punched first, that they were the aggressor. The adjustment that I have for Atlanta is to continue to be on attack mode. I felt that sometimes they settled offensively. They didn't necessarily create those gaps that they can get downhill. And that's when Atlanta is at their best, in which they can run that dribble drive offense and really get a piece of the paint. So those would be my adjustments for Atlanta going into game two. Next matchup was Fever Sun. We know that this was a battle between these two franchises all season long. And the Sun able to win on home court 93 to 69. Alyssa Thomas, a triple double. Marina Mabry recorded the most points a player has ever had in the playoffs off the bench, 27 points. I mean, the Sun just had everything clicking for them on Sunday. And Kath, you were there to witness it all in person.
Yeah. I think the notable thing about that game, there's so many notable things, but at practice the day before, Stephanie White had talked about the Sun always rely on their defense. Year in, year out, one of the league's best defenses. They know that they can rely on that, but they had to match the Fever. They had to be good offensively. They couldn't miss easy buckets. And I thought they did a really good job of that, keeping up with the Fever's scoring.
And I think that's what it is, right? You know that the Fever want to outscore you. They want to put up triple digits every single time and force you to do that. But again, only scored 69 points. Caitlin Clark did not have maybe the playoff debut she thought she wanted to have. Only 11 points in that game and struggled to shoot. But I think that was the defense of Dewana Botter guarding her. And possibly that's why we love playoffs, because coaches get into their bag. They start thinking and dreaming about these things. And Stephanie White said, let me have Dewana Bonner, one of the longest perimeter defenders in the W, guard one of the best shooters. And I thought that it worked. Maybe an adjustment for the Fever is, hey, how can you create more of those switches, more of those mismatches, and get better flow within their offense, especially in transition? We know this is a team that likes to run. I felt they could have ran a little bit more in transition to score versus the Sun. Cass, any other game two adjustments that we may need to see from the Fever?
Yeah, transition is huge. They did not score a lot there. They looked out of sync offensively, didn't rely on what got them here. It was definitely a choppy start. For the Fever, I think they need to hit their shots because they did have good looks, as Christy and Caitlin said. And I think for Caitlin, like put her in a position early to hit an early three. That is always what has gotten her going. I think that'll really fuel the offense, keep their pace going. Obviously, defense, play just a little bit tougher defense. Like this is a young
Mm.
team. You're not going to see a star-studded defense out of them. But in those games that they've won against Connecticut and other times, they've had just enough to be able to outscore the other team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Defense wins championships, and especially when you're on the road, you've got to find a way to stop the ball and then to clean up the glass as well. So two areas, but that game too, certainly looking forward to watching and seeing the adjustments made from Chrissy's sides for the Fever. And then we move on to our third matchup on Sunday, the Mercury at the Lynx. The Lynx won 102 to 95. If you had tuned into this game at halftime, you may have thought there was no need to really keep watching. The Lynx were up, I mean, 20. They looked confident and in control. But if you took a walk and walked your dog and came back at the end of the third quarter, you would have seen that the Mercury were actually starting to win that game. It was a back and forth affair, but the Lynx ended up pulling it out. Cass, round two for this matchup. Do you feel as though the vets for the Phoenix can steal a game against the Lynx?
I think they can. You know, when we came into these first round series, we talked so much about Indiana and them being able to steal a game. We didn't talk a lot about the Mercury because they had been up and down all year, but they are a really veteran team with a lot of playoff experience. Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner, Kalia Copper, Natasha Cloud. These are WNBA champions who know how to get the job done. I think they showed that in game one, and they definitely have a chance in game two.
Yeah, we will see because also someone that is showing what they can do is Napheesa Collier coming off a career high 38 points to start this playoff series. Fee has looked great all season and it's continuing to look like that in the postseason, but we're excited for the second game in that round. And then the last one that finished off the day, super late for those on the East Coast, 10 p.m. Storm and Aces. This 4-5 matchup we've all been looking forward to. The Aces were able to come out with the win 78-67. Not a high scoring game at all. They might have had a little extra motivation before the game, though, as A'ja Wilson secured her third MVP trophy this season, the first unanimous MVP since 1997. She received it before the game. She had a pregame. A'ja, by the way, is so fantastic with her speeches. Like, I don't know about it, everyone else, but anytime I'm scrolling on social media and I see her talking, I'm like, I don't feel like pulling out more tissues because she's always so thoughtful with her remarks. But congratulations to A'ja and what she's been able to do and put together the best season maybe that we've ever seen from an individual performance standpoint, Cass.
Yeah, I mean, just dominated this league this year. She's talked a lot about being fueled by that fourth place vote last year. Just an incredible scorer, rebounder, has really been the fuel for the Aces to get here. And I think what
Hmm.
you saw in that game one was almost the opposite. A little bit of a slow start for A'ja, but it was okay because the Aces are coming together and they got contributions elsewhere, including from Chelsea Gray, who has continued to ramp up after that injury to start the year. She got in the finals last year. She is looking more and more and more like herself. Absolutely clutch buckets in game
Hmm.
one.
Yeah, I totally agree. Chelsea Gray with 16 points and 7 assists. We mentioned that the Aces won 78-67, but for the majority of that game, the Storm was winning. The Storm were in control, but it wasn't until the fourth quarter. Cass, they scored 2 points in the fourth quarter, just 2 points in the fourth quarter for the Storm. And you kind of look back and that was really the game. I mean, they just could not put the ball in the basket. Do you feel like the Storm missed maybe a prime opportunity to go up 1-0 on a team that is trying to three-peat?
To put it simply, as some quotes were put simply after the game, yes.
Mm,
Noelle Quinn said, you can't have a 2 point quarter. Nneka said, you know, you're not going to win the game like that. I do want to give credit to the Aces defense. That's certainly part of it. But to shoot like 20% or whatever it was in that frame, 10%, something like that, is never going to get the job done. And certainly in the fourth quarter of a playoff game against a two-time champion. I think they should have calmed themselves down a little bit more, maybe regrouped, gone to something they knew was going to get points. As soon as you see a basket
mm.
go in, then you can build off of that. But this was a huge opportunity to go up a game and either close it out in game two or come home for game three.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought the defense for the Aces was terrific on Nneka Ogwumike, which has really been one of the main offensive threats for the Storm. And then I wish down the stretch that we saw more of Skylar Diggins-Smith shooting the ball. I think through the first 3 quarters of the game, she was so aggressive. And then the fourth quarter, I don't know, it was the in-game adjustments or less the pace of the game, but it didn't seem like she got as many opportunities as the Storm needed her to. And so definitely maybe several adjustments for Seattle, but they played good enough defense and tough enough, and they started well enough to be in the game and to win that game. And this is a team that has said, hey, They're excited for this series. They think they can win. Really looking forward to those second game adjustments. Also, shout out to Jackie Young. I thought that her 12 points and 7 rebounds for the Aces was crucial. She's been up and down this season, especially since the Olympic break. But what we know about the Aces is that this time of year, they play their best basketball. They're going to need everyone to do it. All right, we're moving on to the game twos of the first round. Which one are we most excited for in this matchup, Cass?
I'm here in Connecticut and I'm excited for game two. I have not lost faith in the Fever. I think that's just a tough way to come out. You know, a lot of the talk before the game was veteran versus young team. The Sun starters have 4,912 minutes combined of playoff experience. Obviously, most of that is DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas. The Fever have zero. And I think maybe that got to them a little bit. I think if they shoot the ball well, they know what it takes to get over Connecticut. Connecticut has also had problems in game twos in the past. So I'm excited to see if that fleshes out that way and what it looks like.
Yeah, I think we keep talking about vets, right? We just know that in this league, it's proven that when you have the most experience, when you're older, that you win games. And so I think it's Connecticut using their veteran leadership and what they know about game twos to not drop a game two. I think it's the Fever saying, hey, we've got to play our best basketball right now and put points on the board. I definitely think in order for Indiana to win, it simply just has to be a high scoring affair. The game cannot be in the 80s for them, maybe even in the 90s. I think they have to get to triple digits and really make Connecticut score with them. But you're right, though. I'm excited about Mercury Lynx. From what I saw from the Mercury in terms of their veteran leadership, that they can get it done. Natasha Cloud, Kalia Copper, Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner, Sophie Cunningham, like that group has played games together. They can play on one accord defensively when they commit to it. And I think that's going to be the difference for them is in it, can they commit to playing 40 minutes of solid team defense and then taking really good shots on the offensive side. But I think it's possible that their veteran leadership and experience is more than that of the Minnesota Lynx, and possibly they can steal game two. All right, guys, that is the breakdown of the WNBA playoff matchups. What else do these playoffs have in store for us? Can't wait to watch games Tuesday and Wednesday. Stay in on the action with us.